Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, Chapter 100. We have reached the big triple digits, and things are getting kind of shaking up into their next form in the Labyrinth of Dogramag, if that description makes any sense at all. Where when we last left our heroes, Gajiel's accidental grabbing of some weird orb thing in the labyrinth seems to have caused a mass shakeup of the labyrinth's form, causing everyone to sort of rearrange who they're with. Gajiel and Carla run into fall onto Gray and Urza, and quickly find Misaki, who we get a bit more clarification is like Kiria's kind of senpai figure. She refers to Kiria as her protege. We get some setup for a Kiria-Urza fight, Misaki-Urza fight, as Misaki tries to tear up Urza's body and only tears up her clothes in an uncomfortable fan service bit, and then also tries to tear off all of her hair and only gives Urza a neat bob cut, which, enrages her Jalal feelings. Meanwhile, Natsu and Lucy are separated. Lucy quickly finds Kiria, and Natsu finds Suzaku. Loxus and Kirin are separated. And with Wendy and Lily, as the room they're in starts to kind of rumble, Wendy has Lily save Haku. And those three are somewhere else. You don't really see them after that bit. But yeah, everyone's moving around, and the big fights that start last time are Urza and Misaki, Natsu and Suzaku, and Lucy and Kiria. So that being said, let's dive right on into the big Chapter 100. To celebrate, we have a kind of color double spread here of the main gang in fancy dress, sipping on, for most of them, wine. Even though I do think that most of the main cast are still 19. And I think the legal drinking age in Japan is 20. So I'm not quite sure they should be doing that. Though I suppose legally they're 26, so maybe it's fine. I do like the detail though. They're all holding wine glasses, except for Wendy, who is holding juice. Also, Happy is holding fish in a cup, which is cute. Also, Leffy is super pregnant. She should not be drinking wine, but whatever. It's all very unimportant. We have another two-page spread of really the entire cast of 100 Years Quest in Chibi. From the main team Natsu, we see all of the good folks in Ishgar, all of Fairy Tail, along with Shelia and Crime Sorcière, and also Brandish is there on the bottom. On the left, we also see Sabretooth. We see Aquarius and Scorpio. We see some of the, various 100 Years Quest specific characters. Alderaan the Godseed. We see Ignia. We see the Zara family in Beta Heaven, along with Silver and Orin Ultir. And I guess that's the Grage from Gray's fantasy and his fight with Hakane. Speaking of, we see the Moonlit Beauty Gods. We see Diabolos. We see Eleftheria. We see Toka and Ferris and the Whiteout Priestess. I see Eleftheria. Mercphobia was what I meant earlier, not Eleftheria. But we also do see Eleftheria, the Dark Dragon Knights, Team Scullion, Nabal. We see Wraith. Just literally everyone who showed up in these 100 chapters, I think, is here somewhere. But anyway, thank you everyone for helping us reach 100 chapters. Thank you very much for all your support until now. Let's celebrate hitting 100 chapters. Here's a drawing of 100 Fairy Tail characters. Okay, so yeah, just a whole lot of people. Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, Chapter 100, An Uninvited Guest. With all that being said, let's finally get to the chapter. And we open with a color page, just sort of showing where everyone's kind of left off. We see Natsu and Suzaku squaring off. We see Kiria and Lucy. And I'm somehow just realizing Kiria's a blonde. I always pictured her as having white hair, but apparently she's a blonde. Kirin, who we also see, also has, kind of yellow-green hair. It's probably the fact that his beard is black. We see Misaki and Urza. Misaki, whose hair we now see is like an azure, which makes sense given her title. And Celine, who we did know is blonde, but every time I see Celine as a blonde, I'm always a little shocked, because I definitely pictured Celine as having like white to silver hair. But anyway, with all that finally being said, on to the plot. We're only 5 minutes into the video. So we open, for realsies, with Natsu and Suzaku squaring each other down. As Natsu taunts Suzaku, "I'm gonna do to you what you did to me last time." And Suzaku just responds, "Futile. No matter what you do, the results will be the same." And then Natsu sort of gets to a big question from his perspective. "You said you were gonna beat Celine, so why are you buddies with her now?" And Suzaku tells him, "Simple. Her goal is to slay the 5 dragon gods, as is ours." Natsu does not really question that, despite the fact that from the outside looking in, that's super confusing. And I guess it doesn't really matter, since I'm gonna beat you both. And Suzaku goes to draw his sword. "You will not evade my sword." And they square each other down. And Natsu just like does kind of this thing, and then brings his fist down, flaming up. Suzaku's just inching towards that sword. Natsu grins. Suzaku grabs that, just finally touches the sword, and the two of them square off. I love this like slow building, tension as you're just like waiting for them to finally move, and then we get that split panel of each of them with like one half of their face. And Suzaku makes his move instantly, cutting Natsu down, but Natsu grins, shocking Suzaku. Natsu lands on his feet, injured though. We see the blood drip down. But he's guarded himself. We see his arms have like formed dragon scales to block most of the damage. And Natsu just like flames up. "I blocked it!" And Suzaku just looks back shocked. "Impossible. He could not dodge or see it. And he defended himself? My sword that cleaves through the scales of dragons?" And Natsu just taunts, "These flames are the scales of the Fire Dragon King." And Natsu goes at him, claws at Suzaku. Suzaku jumps out of the way, and Suzaku makes another slash that Natsu blocks. "He blocked my sword flash barehanded?" And Natsu just tells him, "If I just concentrate a little, I can do anything." "Such nonsense!" Suzaku runs at him, draws the blade again, but this time Natsu kicks him in the face. "This is a narrow place. Your katana is no good here." And so Suzaku goes to grab Carnugie's blade again. "These accursed walls. If I use Carnugie's sword..." And he goes to attack the walls. But it doesn't work. As we learned earlier in the arc, the walls can't be broken. And Natsu taunts, "Didn't you know? These walls, they can't be broken no matter what you try." So Natsu just elbows Suzaku there. I do like Natsu very much like using the terrain to his advantage here. The idea that like Suzaku needs that like wide stroke to attack him because his sword is kind of huge, and he does not really have the space here to do that. And as a result, he's kind of on the back foot. Giving Natsu, whereas Natsu does not need that much space. He's just a single person, and so he's much more able to go on the offensive here. Anyway, Suzaku takes the hit, goes sliding back, and looks back up at Natsu. "You, have I lost my edge since our last encounter?" "Nah, nothing like that." And then Suzaku questions, "You could not possibly have grown stronger in such a short time." "Oh yeah, I did. It's because I train every day that I get so tough." And then Suzaku thinks, "And yet, your movements." "Yeah, it's all in the movement. If you fight the same way as your enemy, then you can read their moves, like how you always rush at us head on. Once you do that, you understand all kind of things. That's how we build our strength." Okay, there's something kind of weird about this translation. I'm not quite, it feels like, I don't know. I'm not quite following the back and forth of this conversation. So, because the idea that Natsu did genuinely get stronger in the past, like got stronger through training over the past, 2 or 3 days. I don't quite buy it. And then there's just something about all of this. If you fight in the same way as your enemy and you can read their moves, like how you always rush at us head on, it feels like with that last bit, what he's trying to say is that if the enemy fights in the same way every time, you can read their moves. That's what it seems to be saying. That's what makes the most sense. That Suzaku keeps doing the same thing every time. And so eventually, especially now that he's kind of constrained by the walls, Natsu can make some actual, make some real headway here. That he knows what's going on. But that's not really what the line as translated is saying. What Natsu is saying, according to this translation at least, is that if Natsu fights in the same way as Suzaku, then Natsu can read Suzaku's moves. Which doesn't really make any sense with that, how you always rush at us head on. Unless Natsu's saying that, he also rushes at the enemy head on, which is technically true. I don't know. It's just a weird little bit there. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Anyway, Natsu goes on. Once you do that, you understand all kinds of things. That's how we build our strength. But either way, Suzaku kind of was shocked at this, strategy. What is this? This one is more clever than he appears. And Natsu runs at him with, a fire fist. And Suzaku blocks it with the sword. And he just randomly asks, what is 12 minus 5? What? Shocking Natsu. What? 12 minus 5. Give me your answer now. And Natsu sort of falls for it. Grr. 12 is the same number as Lucy's keys, right? So what do you get when you take away 5? Damn it. 10! Which is the wrong answer, of course, and Suzaku's he is a dunce indeed. Okay, it's just a weird little cutaway there. Anyway, Suzaku continues to think, in regards to his combat sense, there is a swiftness to his thoughts. That is his genius. It must be dulled. And Natsu sees Suzaku take a step forward. It kind of shocks him. But that's a hit. Natsu is fully struck by that blow, shocking him. Gah! And Suzaku thinks, I alter the timing of my step. Oh, so it kind of shocked. So Natsu's sort of confused. The hit didn't land in quite the same way he thought it would. But Natsu's largely fine. That hurt! And Suzaku thinks that did not work either. If I am to cut the Fire Dragon King's scales, then I must improve my own concentration. And Natsu readies that next attack. Fire Dragon King's Demolition Fist! And he throws all that power right at Suzaku. And okay, so at first I thought that we were changing settings there. In the last 6 or so pages, we get to this uninvited guest of the title, right? Because after Natsu throws a Demolition Fist, we see a random stretch of hallway. And then the hallway blows up with the force of the Demolition Fist. And it doesn't quite damage the walls. The walls still seem intact, but it's getting close to blowing them up. And we cut back to Suzaku's thoughts. And I must admit this. He is powerful. And Natsu's just stunned. Are you serious? You blocked my flames? Kornugi-style sword drawing. Abyss. And with that Abyss move, it seems the flames disappear, shocking Natsu. Underworld Black Purgatory Slash. Is that the same move he used on Celine back in Elantir to seemingly defeat her? I think it might be. And Natsu also takes that full blow, and he's pretty beat up by it. Ah! But he also kind of defends it. He's clearly battered up there. We can see his arms are cut all over. He's just having a bad time of it. But he is still standing. He is still standing. I love this pen. The way Natsu is drawn here, beaten, battered, his vest in tatters. But he's still there. That was close. If I used any of my magic power as a counterattack, I might have gotten smashed to pieces. Wait, what? Okay, so how does that attack work? Does it use his magic? Oh, it's because he uses magic to defend instead of to attack. If any of his magic had been not used to defend, instead been used offensively, he would have been able to tank that. But because he didn't fight back, he just held strong, he was able to power through. Suzaku's stunned. He defended against that as well? Be that as it may, how hot it has become. So this is the flame of a fire dragon king. And Natsu's stunned. I have an idea who our uninvited guest is right about to turn out to be. Because it's been a damn while since we last saw Ignia. Because Natsu's stunned. No, it's not. This! And Suzaku looks at him confused. It's not me! And the walls start to melt. Which, they shouldn't be able to do. What's going on? I thought these walls couldn't ever get destroyed, could they? And a voice from the smoke and the melted wall tells him, not by a human. Hey there, Natsu. There he is. There's Ignia. Back, our uninvited guest for the big chapter 100. And Natsu reacts, Ignia! And Suzaku, the fire dragon god? And everyone else senses it too. Specifically, we see two of the dragon slayers in particular sense it. Loxus and Wendy. What's this magic power? Has somebody infiltrated the labyrinth? And then we see Celine shaking. Like her speech bubbles are shaking. Why is he here? What is he after? Could it be he knows the truth of the labyrinth? To be continued next. And that's where we leave off. Okay. So first thing, this might be a translation glitch, but there's this to be continued next. Whereas normally it's just translated to be continued. Could that be like to be continued next week? And then instead of waiting 2 weeks, you only have 1 week till next chapter? I don't know. Maybe it's next week. Maybe it's 2 weeks from now. I personally have no fucking clue. Anyway, let's talk this chapter. Because let's start at the ending, actually. We have Ignia. We have Ignia here. Who, I don't know what he's here for. There's no sign of his coming. Right, when he showed up for Mercphobia, right, it was sort of like this Pride of the Dragon Gods thing, right? If I'm not mistaken, it might be wrong there because it's been a long time since I read the Mercphobia arc. But as I recall, he just sort of showed up, to like, I don't remember exactly, but it had something to do with the fight with Eleftheria. Not Eleftheria, Mercphobia. Why do I keep getting them confused? But here, we see two things. One, Celine is terrified of him, right? Celine is just terrified of Ignia, which implies that Ignia is like a league above her in terms of pure combat ability. But there's also this bit about the truth of the labyrinth. And something tells me that's not about the heart of Eleftheria. I don't think that's what Ignia is going for here. But he's clearly going for something. No idea what it could be. But I doubt it's anything good, is my ultimate conclusion there. I highly doubt whatever he's going for is something we want him to have. But anyway, beyond that, let's talk about that Natsu-Suzaku fight. Because that shit was just good. It's just some great fight choreography, some great back and forth, both of them going all out, neither of them able to get a definitive blow in. As the fight goes on, I love seeing them just get dirtier as the fight goes. They start out the fight, Natsu's a little worse for wear. He got a little bit of dirt on him from his quick little encounter with Haku earlier. Suzaku, meanwhile, is like squeaky clean. And as the fight goes on, Natsu gets dirtier and bloodier, and Suzaku as well, as he faces Natsu's full strength. And they're both largely evenly matched. I'm curious how Ignia's arrival will sort of shake up this battle. But it's just so good. There's a style to this fight. You know, I love the way Mashima spends a whole page just like getting that tension going as, you know, they slowly move towards the start of combat. It's just well done. It's just some well done shit there. Some well done storyboarding on page 7 in particular, but the whole chapter. You know, if you want a high octane, kick-ass fight, this is the chapter for you. Because this is just some good shit. There's some weird comedy. The math cutaway is kind of odd. But there's just some good fight choreography, some good just power showcasing here. It's just kick-ass. It's kick-ass. That's the best way to describe it. And now with Ignia here, I have no idea how everything is going to change with Ignia here. I just have no idea how, but I cannot wait to see just what happens next. So I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, you know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!